I visited the best bookstore in the world, and that's not just my opinion. This store was actually awarded the achievement by the London Book Fair in 2022. Hey everyone, I'm Nev and welcome to my book channel. I haven't posted in a while because I've been travelling both in the UK and in Estonia. So this is also going to be a bit of a bookish travel vlog. Try saying that 6 times quickly. I visited things like Tolkien's grave and a bunch of other book-related places. So where is this bookstore? Well, it's in Tallinn in Estonia, which is one of the Baltic states because it's next to the Baltic Sea. If you ever get the chance to visit, I highly recommend it. Tallinn is a beautiful city. In the centre is the Old Town, one of the world's best preserved medieval cities. There's all these cobbled streets and old buildings. I mean, just look at this. It's amazing. And then you get old churches. This one coming up. This one. George R.R. Martin would love this one because there's all this old heraldry on the walls. There's a city wall with all these fortification towers, and you can actually go up some of these. You get these cool old stone staircases, and well, this is a replica catapult here, but that's a real cannon, and sometimes there's dress-up opportunities. Really cool old towers. It's just a fantasy reader's dream. It has all these old tunnels that you can delve through, and I just love all these old precarious staircases. I mean, look at that. That's just so cool. I love a good staircase. You can go up some of these. I think this one is going up one of the church towers, so you can go up some of the church towers and get a really cool view up the top. And you can see in this view, this is the old town kind of on the left there, but you can see all the modern development over in the top right. This whole thing, i.e. the old town part of Tallinn, has UNESCO World Heritage status. I just can't tell you how awesome it is. I've got a bazillion photos here. I had to cull this severely down to what I think is the best. There are all sorts of interesting lanes and streets no matter where you wander, and actually not a heck of a lot of tourists. It has the oldest apothecary in Europe that's been in business since the 1400s. That's a drugstore to you people in the US, or we call it a chemist in Australia. I travelled to Estonia because it's where my mum's ancestors are from, and this was the last opportunity I had to travel to Estonia with my mum because she's in her 90s. I visited there 30 years ago, just after they'd gotten their freedom back from the Soviet Union in 1991. You can visit the KGB museum, which is on the secret 23rd floor of a particular hotel, and you can find out how they put secret microphones in things like ashtrays and in plates. And for the fans of Asterix out there, this is me eating wild boar. Anyway, I could keep showing you photos forever, so back to the bookstore. Like an idiot, I didn't think to take any video for my book channel, so these pictures will have to suffice. It's located on the 3rd floor of this particular shopping centre. It had a very nice layout. There was a cafe because, you know, books make you hungry if you've been reading too long. And you may be reading long because there's all these cool little nooks and very comfortable seats if you want to just sit down and read. Of course, there's the science fiction and fantasy section. I had to check that out. They even had a board game section. This is the Baltic version of Catan. They had a pretty wide selection, and this was a very cool part of the store. They had a special authors area, so they had a place where they could invite authors and have a discussion, and then they even had a special signing table. I don't think it would win if you were comparing it in specific categories. It's not the biggest bookstore I've been in. It's not the most ornate bookstore. But I think it just has a bit of everything. All those reading nooks. It's got a good selection. It's just a nice store to be in. So if you're ever in Tallinn, I would highly recommend a visit. Now on to some other bookish stuff in England. I went to Oxford, and this is the house where Tolkien lived, on Northmoor Rd. The current owners make it a little bit hard to actually see, but yes, this is where he lived 1930 to 1947, and they have this nice elvish script on the gate. I also visited Tolkien's grave, and someone had actually left the one ring on top of the gravestone, which is kind of cool. Pretty impressive that no one steals it. I also visited the place where C.S. Lewis was living, a place called the Kilns. So that is where he lived from 1930 to 1963. And again, I also visited his grave. So there he is buried with his brother. But also associated with Lewis, I visited the church where he used to worship. And there's actually a plaque saying this is where he sat and worshipped. I guess they were very particular about where they sat. Some other Tolkien related things. This is the Bell Inn, and apparently this is the inspiration for the Prancing pony. And I don't have any photos from the inside of this because there were a bunch of locals inside. And you could kind of see them giving us the evil eye like, oh no, not more Lord of the Rings tragics. In fact, it was kind of like in the movie where the patrons are giving the evil eye to the hobbits. Maybe they were all role-playing. So we hightailed it out of there. Now this is cool. This is a church in a place called Stow-on-the-wold, and apparently this is the inspiration for the doors of Moria, as is readily apparent. Pretty obviously an inspiration. One last Tolkien thing. This is the church where Tolkien and Edith got married. Now on to some other stuff, and Mark from the book thing will be very excited to know I went to Bath and there was a Jane Austen festival. We actually didn't know that. We were going to see the Roman baths, which are very cool. But yes, it was this special day where there was a Jane Austen parade and there were all these people dressed up in Regency era costumes. Here's a random one. I went to the pub where Shakespeare's parents had breakfast when Shakespeare got married. Okay, just a few more things. There's this cool manor house, and I'm just whacking this in here because there was this very cool old book about 400 or 500 years old. It was a manuscript. It was just enormous. This picture I'm throwing in here for you old school gamers that played King's Quest. And for my Neil Stephenson fans, I went to Bletchley Park where they broke the Enigma machine. They had a whole range of cool Enigma machines and a replica of the bomb used to decode it, and that was Alan Turing's office. And this is the mansion at Bletchley Park. You can see this if you watch the Imitation game. You can see Benedict Cumberbatch in front of this building. And if you watch the movie Enigma, you'll see this car and this vehicle. We often joked as we were traveling that there are various levels of old. There's just like, well, this is old. This is fairly old. This is pretty old, 1450. And then this is really old, and then this is really, really old, and then this is positively ancient. So you may ask, did I buy anything? Well, I did go on the hunt in a few charity shops for Fighting Fantasy, seeing as they are originally from the UK, but I came up empty. The only thing I did find was the first Michael Connolly Harry Bosch novel, The Black Echo, and Josh over at Red Fury Books keeps recommending these, so I have finally gotten the first one. These are a bunch of crime fiction novels, and I'm looking forward to getting around to reading this one. So those were my bookish travels. I hope you enjoyed seeing the photos. If you're interested in any of the places, hit me up in the comments if you want to find out where they are. And now, back to some reading. I'll see you in the next video.